Everybody, how's it going? It's Dustin from Czar again. I told you that we were going to have a video on the Tormach Lathe, and here it is. I'm just going to kind of go through, talk about my experience with it. I know there's a lot of people out there that have, Tormach mills or Tormach lathes. Some of them are kind of, I think, sponsored or something like that. I don't have any sort of backing by Tormach or anything, so I just wanted to do a really honest video about how I've worked with it and kind of what it's done for me. I don't want this to come off as a kind of a slam video or trash talk on Tormach. I really like the lathe. It's great for the price point. You can't beat it. There's nothing else out there in that same kind of high-end hobby class is kind of what I would call it. It's a big step up to something like an Omni-Turn or GT27, kind of smaller lathes. Those are definitely be a lot more expensive than what you'll pay for a Tormach. It's done great for me. I've had really good tolerances, repeatability, consistent work. But there have been some other issues along the road, so I got some notes, so I'm going to kind of go over those and talk about my experience with the machine since I've had it. It's been about a year and a half. I got it January of 2015. It's June 2016 now, so it's been over a year. It's a little bit dirty at the moment. I just finished up a bunch of drip tips. This square stock throws coolant all over the place, so it's a little messy, but we'll kind of go into it. See, first let's start off when I got it. The gang plate that it came with was in the plywood box, but it wasn't wrapped in plastic or cosmoline. Didn't have any of the mounting bolts with it. So really after I got the machine, I couldn't actually do any work. Oh, my light fell down. I can stick that back up. I couldn't actually do any work with the lathe for the first couple weeks that I owned it because of the missing bolts. So I called Tormach. They were happy to send me new ones. I needed 6. I was sent 4. I'm not blaming that on them. Maybe a miscommunication on my part. I think they thought that I had the half plate, to go with the automatic tool changer, which I don't. So, that's not a big deal. So I got the bolts in, and then that light will not stay up. The coolant gets on that sticky pad and just does not stay very well. So after I got the bolts in, I went to put the gang plate on. I could only ever fit 5 bolts in it at a time. The bottom hole down here, or if I flipped it, it was the top hole on the other side, wouldn't line up right. On that gang plate, you could tell that the bottom hole was kind of wallowed out, like someone tried to remachine it. I honestly think that it was a returned plate that someone returned and somehow got sent back to me, some sort of mix-up like that. They sent me a new gang plate. I kept the old one. They didn't want it back. They said I could, turn it into a half plate or something like that if I ever needed to, which was, really cool of them. It just, stupid light. It just took me a while to get things going with that. Let's see. Next on the list is this door. I've had seized 2 times now. The first time it seized, I was gone for about a week out of town and came back, and I just couldn't open it. And it ended up tearing out some of the bolts out here from me trying to get it loose and just kind of being dumb with pulling on it too much. They sent me a new door and the mount for it because this is the part that was seized. That was really cool of them. The problem with it is that the bolt pattern on it doesn't line up. I've only got 2 bolts in it. I guess that was they kind of changed some stuff since I had bought the machine, and the ones they have now, they changed the bolt pattern just enough that it wouldn't fit. That was the second one they sent me. It was all under warranty, so they're very cool. I've had a couple of these struts go out, but that's a cheap fix. It just kind of every once in a while will fall down while I'm working. Another thing with this new door is that it doesn't really clearance the chuck. It actually, I had to move this rubber stop back, so now it's not actually touching it at all. I had to do that because or else the door was sitting on top of the spindle and it rubs when the chuck's spinning. So I went ahead and lowered that, so now it sits all the way against it. And really it's that gas strut that's holding the door now, which I don't really like. I'm going to get, a buddy of mine has a real big press. I'm going to get that pressed out on the old one I have and put it back into use so things fit up a little bit better. Let's see, the handles for the collet closer. I guess this is kind of a two-part problem. The handle has broke a bunch of times because I pull on it kind of hard. The reason I do that is because my collets stick really bad. I've tried a bunch of things. This is kind of something, if anyone else out there has a Tormach lathe, the collet closer, or just a any lathe, the collet closer, like a Hardinge or something like that, and kind of knows a solution or something to try for this issue, I would love to hear it because I've been dealing with it pretty much since I got the machine. I've kind of gone back and forth with Tormach about it. Basically, sometimes when I open the collet, like right now, it doesn't release, and I end up kind of tapping it like that until it does release. Sometimes it doesn't do that, so I have a little dead blow and I just kind of give it a little tap. It pops out eventually. They've sent me a new spindle taper for the 5C collets. That was kind of a weird experience. It was something that kind of upset me at the time. I still don't really know how I feel about it. The old one and the new one were about 40 to 60,000. I think it was like 50,000, something in that range, different. Basically, it kind of tapered back, and then where the stud is for the collet alignment, there was a lip right in front of that stud where I guess it machined out a second time, and they didn't want to go through the stud because you need the stud to line up your collets. But they tried to fix a bad part or something. That was just something that was weird to me, with what I paid for this machine. I expected a little more consistency than, 40 or 50,000, wherever it was. I sent the old one back. They wanted to take a look at it just to, kind of see, I don't know what was going on with it or something. That kind of helped for a little while. Like the old taper may have been bad or something. I would say it was, but the new one still sticks. At one point, they sent me a new collet closer. The old one was cast aluminum. This one's all machined. And that seemed to really help the whole collet closer thing for a while. But now they stick just as bad again. It does kind of hold me up in production, trying to get the collets to pop loose. I can't, move stock out as fast as I'd like to. I'd like to, later this summer, put a bar puller on this with automatic, collet closer. But one thing I'm worried about is having the collet stick and then a pulling on the bar and it not pulling the stock out enough because it's slipping or something. And then it just kind of messing parts up and running bad parts. So I'd really like to get the collet closer working 100% before I do the bar puller on it. If you haven't seen it, G-Made CNC has a video on building the bar puller. Really awesome videos. He walks through the whole process, and that's kind of where I got the idea. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but he just kind of, made it a lot easier than how I was thinking of doing it. So really glad he did that video. Because of the collet sticking, like I said, I've broken several handles. This black handle part just comes off, so I just buy all thread and stick in there, so when they break I can just get another piece of all thread. It's pretty cheap. I mean, it's frustrating it does that, but not a really big deal. Overall on the machine, when I got it, I was missing kind of nuts and bolts here and there. Nothing I really bothered Tormach with at the time, just because it was little stuff I had laying around or could pick up at the hardware store really easy, a lot faster than, you know, having them send me replacements and stuff. I didn't want to gripe about it too much. I believe I was missing the mounting bolts for the door as well. Tormach says they're supposed to be, because, you know, it comes disassembled to an extent when you get it, so the door's not on it, the back's not on it, this lip guard in the front's not on it. Just different little things you have to put on. They said the bolts are supposed to be in the top of the spindle here when it's in the crate. They weren't, so I had to have them send me those. I think I used some hex bolts from like Home Depot when I first got them, but they wouldn't go down into the bracket, and I just wanted to have the right ones, so I had Tormach send me those. The oiler came with all the screws, but the bolt pattern didn't quite line up. Not a really big deal. I just drilled off the bracket on the oiler. I had the machine for a few months. I'd say, you know, a good 4 to 6 months or something like that. And it was running fine. I wasn't, you know, kind of in full speed production at the time. You know, just because getting the business up and going and things. By the time I started getting a lot more busy, the lathe just started e-stopping just randomly. You know, I thought I would bump the e-stop that's over here on the kind of computer table. But it would just, you know, randomly during random parts of the code, it would e-stop. I'd have to reset the machine, reference the axes. The axes didn't really reference the same every time. So then I have to touch the tools off and kind of go through it. And, you know, the odds are that the next part or the part after that, it would e-stop again. So, you know, every other part I was spending, you know, 5, 10, you know, or more minutes getting all the tool offsets right. And then you run one more good part, and then you run another, and it e-stops again. You know, it was a huge, very frustrating waste of time. I went back and forth with Tormach about it for a very long time. They gave me a bunch of software patches. Eventually we fell on one that made it better, and then the next one they gave me, you know, fixed it entirely. I haven't had the issue since then. But, you know, kind of what I was trying to talk to him about at the time, if it was a software issue, you would think that everyone with the Tormach Lathe running the same software would be having the same issue, because software, at least in my theory, is the same on every machine. But at the hardware component level, you know, if you have like a relay or something that's bad on the fritz, you know, it's a manufacturer error from wherever they're sourcing their parts from. Yeah, that's something that's specific to my machine. At the time, they were telling me I was the only one with this issue, so I thought it would be some sort of hardware in the machine problem. So I kind of wanted a hardware solution to it that was specific to me, and I wasn't going to have it again. They gave me a software patch, which yes, has fixed it very well, but to me that's kind of just covering up a problem. You know, we're not going to fix a hardware issue, we're just going to give you a new piece of software that ignores the issue, sort of thing. So I was kind of concerned with that fix. Nothing bad has happened. I haven't had any huge software malfunctions. I'm sure that their people know a lot more about software and kind of the hardware workings of a lathe than I do. It's just, you know, the philosophy of my thinking was hardware issue, hardware fix, software issue, software fix. Kind of the whole Occam's razor sort of thing with that. But it worked. I can't complain. Let's see. Oh yeah, it looks like one more thing left on my list. And this was kind of it wasn't a problem early on. Like, I was having a lot of vibrations coming through, you know, the spindle and vibrating the handle while it ran. That was bad. I took the cover off, aligned everything up, did that, you know, over and over and over again. I'm within, you know, I think within 1 thou on both of those parts in there to line it up. My brain's not working. I can't think of the names of them at the moment. But what I came down to, actually, I was running the lathe one day, and the key came out of the key seat on the pulley. So the pulley was just spinning around the motor. It wasn't running. I couldn't get the spindle to turn. What happened was it threw the seat or the key out of the seat. So I had to go buy some key stock, cut it, put it back in. Wasn't a big deal, you know. It just worked itself loose over time. The problem was when I put it back in, I realized that you can kind of see it now. I fixed it kind of the best I could, but it's not perfect. The set screw right here, there's a little indent on the pulley to line it up, and you can tell that there's a little bit of a, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a little bit of a lip right here where that should be flush, and on mine it's not, because the indentation for that set screw is too far out on the end of the shank. Now I've tried drilling it out to push that pulley back to where it's supposed to be. Used to, this was about a 1/4 of an inch ledge, you know, which is pretty bad. Basically what happens is your pulley's out too far and not aligned with the one on the spindle, so you have like this bad angle, you know, pulling on the belt. It caused a lot of vibration. Can never get things leveled out like they were supposed to be. It's a lot better every once in a while. I have to kind of check on it, make sure the pulley's not working its way out, because basically now I have an elongated hole or dimple where that set screw sits instead of, you know, the one the right size. Yeah, I talked to Tormach. They told me that's not something that can happen. It's something that has happened because it's on my machine. I've had this kind of theory, you know, along with my business partners, that we were sent a used machine, or kind of one that didn't pass all the QCs, and they kind of fixed it up a little bit and sent it out anyways, or it was a test model, or I have no idea. You know, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt in saying that not every machine that they sell has had as many problems as mine. You know, I've met other Tormach owners, you know, at conventions for, you know, vape stuff and things that I do, and other people that run their parts on these machines. And I kind of go through my list of problems, and their list of problems is one, maybe two things, you know, and I've got maybe 10, and most of them are fairly large problems. And I'm going to say again, you know, this isn't meant to be a, you know, Tormach Slam video. I love the machine. It makes great parts. It's very repeatable. After I get the tools set where I want them, I can just run them all day long, and, you know, they all pretty much come out the exact same, unless I mess something up really. I don't have, you know, slipping servos, bad tolerances, or anything like that. It's really good, and for the price range, I love it. If it wasn't for Tormach, I don't know if I would have a lathe right now, just because of the gap between this machine and, you know, something else. So there's not really anything else in this price range that I would want to have. I mean, I've got a little central machinery lathe over there, and I can't stand it. I use it for polishing parts and, you know, just little odd end jobs here and there that, you know, I don't really need any sort of accuracy with. I like the Tormach. It's great. Like I said, I'm not sponsored or endorsed or anything like that. I've made, you know, thousands and thousands. Like just this week, I've made probably around 2,000 parts on it. In the past couple of days, I average 250 to 300 parts a day. When I'm busy, I'm not always that busy. So it's well, I can't say it's fast, but for my parts, I have all my programs around 1 minute to 2 minutes. So for me, it's a lot faster than doing them on a manual machine, especially a central machinery. Like I said, for the budget, it's great. All the problems I've had while I was in warranty, they dealt with. They gave me replacement parts. I'm out of warranty now. It was only a 1-year thing. But I haven't had any more major issues in a while. The only thing that's ongoing is the collet closer, and that drives me up the wall daily just because it slows me down so much. Normally when I'm, you know, pulling more stock out, it takes me 5 to 10 seconds kind of roughly But with the collet sticking, you know, it doubles that, or, you know, triples it, which, you know, after every part it really slows you down. So if anyone has a solution to that, let me know, because I would love to hear it. And if, you know, anyone else has a Tormach and has similar problems, you know, let me know. That'd be cool. I don't know, if you're thinking about buying one, I just kind of wanted to give my input on it. Like I said, all the other people that I know that have them hadn't had similar issues, or at least won't say so. So I kind of wanted to put mine out there, let people know, and like I said, you know, it runs great. I'm very happy to have it, but, you know, there has been a lot of issues along the way. You know, some major, some small, some worth talking about, some not. For what I paid for it, I would have appreciated not having any of the issues I had, at least not the major ones, but, you know, it happens. I still have it. I still like it. I still use it every day. I'll upgrade when I can, but for now, you know, it's great for me. So I guess that's it. I'll have another video up maybe in a couple days when I get this part for my mill in and can get started on some box mods. So I'll see you guys later.